Hello everybody, welcome to Let's Play Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. This is Thylord Root, and today we are going to embark on a rather interesting project. One thing that we'll need to do in the future is that we're going to need to get experience with making modular spacecraft. And while this isn't a spacecraft proper, this is a space station that will help us get acclimated to that concept. We're going to put this in orbit around the moon. This is, for most intents and purposes, this is going to be our go-to place when we go to the moon. And we'll go ahead, we'll get that launched right now. Um, I guess it's worth pointing out that we don't have quite all of the firepower we need on a rocket, so this rocket is a rather interesting design. We don't have the main cell engine, which would make this a whole lot easier. And so because of that, we have to pretty much use SRBs and the skipper engines, which give about half the thrust of the main cell. And that makes it a little bit more difficult to get up into orbit. However, these SRBs will do the job quite nicely. I've got little liquid fuel tanks on top of them as well to save us a little bit in the way of our fuel budget. And so those will get dropped off pretty soon. I'm just going to throttle down just a little bit. And we'll go ahead, we'll kick that back up. There we go. We now have, this thing running under its own power. And you'll notice it's unmanned. This was made specifically with a probe body in mind because, as we all know, not having a probe body on the spacecraft tends to lead to some pretty difficult times. In the sense that, as you might have seen in the sandbox mode series, which I haven't really updated lately, the space station will have this tendency to spin out of control. And so we'll go ahead. I'm gonna straighten this out a little bit. Fortunately, these reaction wheels will help with that quite a deal. So let's see, what is our time to apoapsis? We're going to want to start, pretty soon, bringing this thing up, maybe around 30 seconds. It'll take us maybe about maybe I'll wait until 40, tell you the truth. Let's see how we're doing. We still have plenty of fuel left in that one stage, so, yeah, we're going to start pitching down just a little bit. And gain some horizontal velocity. In fact, we need to gain lots of horizontal velocity. but we will hit our we'll hit our desired orbit pretty soon. I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and we'll hit that velocity um, maybe about about now. Um, Target apoapsis is probably going to be somewhere to the order of maybe 80K. Although it will take us um, some time to do that. So we're just going to keep this thing right around here. And we're still in the atmosphere, so we'll expect this thing to decay some. In fact, we'll expect it to decay a lot. However, since we're doing TMI, we don't want this thing really to have a perfect orbit as such, a perfectly circular orbit anyway. There we go. We are out of the atmosphere. And we'll just bring that down. And though it need not be perfectly circular, I think that'll be just fine for us. So we'll get in position. We'll make this 4 second burn, and then we will go straight to the moon. Which, in fact, I need to set my target as, because we will want to do an inclination change. So yeah, we'll get into position for that. And that'll do. That'll do quite nicely, actually. So, we'll hit our ascending node. And that's not going to require too much in the way of delta V. Maybe 14 and a half seconds or so. And what's nice about that is that means that we're going to be hitting the moon at a fairly straightforward manner. So, Yeah, we are getting close by. We'll give ourselves about 10 seconds to make any necessary corrections. And that should leave us with a reasonably good descending node, so now it is time to get out to the moon. And we're gonna go ahead, we'll get that periapsis pretty close and in fact we'll do even better. We'll see if we can't get that down to 30 or so. 30 is a good orbit for this because it means we don't need nearly as much potential energy to to get down from the space station to the moon. And so we'll just go ahead and we'll get in position for that burn. In fact, we should probably burn the small test burn. That's 55 seconds that we gotta do that. So we'll get this thing pretty much in order here. And since it's about 55 seconds, we will burn at maybe 28. But I guess while we're at it, we should extend these panels some. But we have a little bit more in the way of power coming. And so, that shouldn't take too much longer. And we should be in a pretty good orbit around the moon. So 30 seems about good. And let's just take a look. It looks like we are still more or less aligned, so we'll just, we have 3 hours to get there. Why don't we deploy these solar panels? Even though we're on the dark side. And don't retract them. And we'll just, we'll get ready here. Unfortunately, we do have plenty of power, so we'll be gaining much in the way of, much in the way of our deal here. Another thing you might notice too is I put a small fuel tank on here, and there's a good reason for that. Part of it has to do with the fact that we're going to be attaching probes to this thing, and there needs to be a way to refuel. So we need... You know what we need to do? We need to add a maneuver as close by as we can. And bring this down. We did very slightly overdo it. I want to get closer to 30. Not in the center of the planet. That's 23, 26. 31. And we'll just go a little bit more. That's close enough, I think. So we will get this guy in orbit. And that of course means that we are wanting to go ahead. We'll go down here around 270. And we do have quite a bit of Delta V to burn, but you know, the deal with that is that we also have plenty of Delta V. So, yeah, we'll do this burn in about, you know, for about 17 seconds, and then we will be in orbit. So, that of course means, but you know, I'll stop it here just to make sure we are aligned. Which it looks like we are. So, yeah, there's still a little bit in the way of... Looks like we did overshoot it just a little bit. But that'll be okay. We'll clean that up when we get to our abscess burn. That's 26, that's a little bit too low. And I think that's 3,100 meters. We'll bring that down. Just a wee bit. That would actually make for a fairly circular orbit, so I'm going to leave it at that. And so we will just go ahead, we'll switch sides here. And, you know, we'll go ahead, we'll get this thing set up real quick. I just want to make sure that, Open Broadcaster is recording this, because you can never really, you can never really tell. So, I will be right back. Yeah, we are recording. And I just gotta wait for KSP to come back up. I've been having issues with that lately, with Open Broadcaster not really picking up my some of my keystrokes to start the deal. Anyway, we don't have much in the way of a burn for this. In fact, the engines are almost probably a little bit too powerful for what we're trying to do, but we'll just I did bring our periapsis down a little bit too much. That's one of the things about orbital maneuvers, is that if you're not careful, you really can you really can get these guys trapped out here. Now, where is this guy here? We need to bring up our periapsis just a little bit. So that is part of the reason why it's so difficult to do this. We're spread out by about 800. I want this to be a little bit less, a little bit tighter of an orbit, even if it really isn't all that bad of an orbit. We'll get this guy centered. No, 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 no. That will not do at all. I should have quick saved before I did that. The fortunate thing is we have a lot in the way of Delta V. We just have to be a little bit careful here, because And we actually had a decent orbit. I don't know why I wanted to fine tune it so much. I mean, I guess at least, you know, if there, that's perfect. I'm gonna, well, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. I'm not quite sure why this thing's oscillating so much. I think it's because the craft is oscillating. Am I out of power? Anyway, if we line this up, we should be good on our inclination. It looks like it. So this will actually be fairly easy to reach. And I'm just going to jettison the rest of this so that we can more or less, keep this thing in orbit. And now we have the first part of a space station in orbit. Crewed by who? Well, crewed by nobody. It's not really that big of a deal, I guess now. But what we can do, and I haven't actually built the launch craft for this. This went a little bit better than I thought it would, so I will go ahead and build a launch craft in order to, you know, crew this thing, because we need, well, we need a lot of different things here. We need, definitely, somebody to work the science. Well, I guess not, maybe not the science, but we'll call this, the little probe. Well, this thing right here, we need somebody to work that. And that is going to be interesting. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll make, I'll call this, I don't know, some name like Hibiscus. It's gonna be the heavy stage of a, you know, thing until we get it, figure out exactly how to set this up. But we now have this guy here. Maybe, I don't know if yeah, we do have a large parachute, but we don't want the parachute. We want the docking port adapter. And that'll be important. We also want, some parachutes on this thing because, it's important, whenever we return to be able to land. And then we will use this to basically create, a launch vehicle that we can use to interact or dock with the space station, and that will not take long at all. In fact, it might be a little bit over-engineered, but we're excited and we want to go to the space station now. So let's just go to our fuels real quick. Let's see what we have in the way of RCS. We have this guy right here. We'll slap on some, in fact, where's our center of mass? We'll slap on some thrusters about here. Although it's probably like that because we don't have an engine on it. I mean, that will probably get us on our center of mass. We'll need power for sure. And we're not going to need much in the way of power because this isn't a probe. And of course we do need, on that note, we do want, stuff for, you know, for generating power as well. And so we'll put out these solar panels. And we'll tweak some action groups here. We'll make one to be deploy the panels. And when we go back, all we should have to do now is, because this is probably also about a 6-ton vehicle, I'm just going to reuse that stage. So we'll add ourselves a decoupler. And we will add in, we'll just call this Lunar Transfer Vehicle. You know, we'll add in that Fubiscus 5 stage that is probably way overpowered for it, but then again, maybe not. And the hope is that we will have enough in the way of, we definitely don't want to deploy our parachutes there. Now, what has happened here that is kind of strange. I think this was meant to be deployed here. At any rate, this should give us more than enough fuel to get there and back. And this will be, as I said, a bit overpowered. In fact, well, I'm just going to leave those on there for now. I didn't test this, so it's not going to be something I really want to be bothered about. However, this should work just fine. And so let's go ahead. We have the whole elite crew here. This thing seems to have about as much mass as the other vehicles, so I guess it was an appropriate launch vehicle. And we're going to take these guys basically when we're ready. We'll take them and, you know, keep them in the space station until we can figure out a good rotation. I mean, Jeb can't have all of the fun, can he? You can see we've got a new guy here. We have, you know, we have Bill. I think Bill is new, or maybe Bob is new. One of them is new. And so anyway, we will actually have a pretty decent thing going on here, and we're gonna get some science done as well. Now, one of them we're going to leave in the space station, but the other we are going to, we're going to do our thing. We're gonna stick them in the crew capsules. Jeb's gonna remain more or less in the in this spacecraft, in this lunar transfer vehicle, at least until such a time arises that he will, go back. And we do want to keep, some of these guys, at least one of these guys, always docked. Because an emergency could happen and then there could be no way home and they'd either die of suffocation or starvation. And so it's important that we're able to get them back home whenever necessary. So, yeah, we're coming up on our apoapsis now. We're on our optimal time. And we need to check our fuel, make sure that we're not about to run out. And we more or less are. I mean, I think we did get a lot of efficiency out of that stage, though. And, we are sort of, we're falling a little bit. Oh, we'll just raise our time to apoapsis. It's way too low. So what's our height anyway? We're not doing much in the as effective or efficient as a flight as I wanted. And we will just we'll get this thing on down. So we'll do another 80k burn or so. So there we go. We have a fairly decent, um, fairly decent, thing planned. I'm gonna go ahead, because I'm sure we're running low on resources. I'm going to deploy these solar panels. And we're about to come up over the horizon here. So it says we have about a 5-second burn. Although we're still in the atmosphere. Which means we're gonna have to tweak this a little bit. Though it need not be perfect. And so we'll just warp to our burn point. And yeah, we'll burn that. And we are a little bit on the early side, but you know what? I don't really want to wait. Okay, so where's the moon at? We certainly have time to do an adjustment. Is that our ascending node? I believe it is. And we'll make this burn, I think. And I will open the spear too that I have. It would probably be good for me to drink the spear while I'm flying a rocket. That makes a lot of good sense, doesn't it? So yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll plan out, or we'll hit this burn that can't really be all that bad. Then after that, I'll crack open my beer. And what's our ascending node at? It has to be at about 0. And we will, of course, burn out to the moon. We don't want to escape the moon, though. And we'll go ahead and set ourselves up to get into a phasing orbit. So that should pretty much, settle it for us. We can just we can get fairly close. And we'll ditch this other stage after we do circularization, because there's really no need for us to carry it about. I mean, we do have at least enough in the way of delta V. We do have enough delta V at least to was I going to say? It's we have enough in the way of delta V at least to where that one stage again is a little bit too powerful. It's probably better for something like Minimus, but because we are not able to at this point engineer a new rocket in a timely fashion, we're just going to reuse this stage. And we'll use probably a better stage once we, you know, perform science, because it is quite wasteful the way we're doing this. And we don't really want to waste. It makes our space program look bad when we're wasteful. But such as it is, this is about what it's taken for us to for us to get um into our orbit. That's actually one of the nice things about the subassembly system, is that the subassembly system has made it fairly easy in order to mix and match in the way that we're doing. Did I overdo it? No, I still got. Oh, I did overdo it. Well, that's okay. That just means that we'll have a closer encounter. And so we'll get on through this. And there's our space station right there. So we'll set this thing. No, the lunar station. We'll set that as our target. And we will circularize real quick. It might help if we get this thing on our apoapsis. So, yeah. Once we do insertion, we'll ditch this stage, because it's not really necessary. We're going to have a ton of fuel left over. We actually had a fairly good amount of fuel left over last time. But, yeah, we'll... So, yeah, we're doing our TMI, or our orbital injection here. And that should, not take too long. I think I'm going to burn between 9 and 8. And we're just going to, this isn't of course our final orbit. But yeah, we'll bring that down just a little bit. That is just fine. Let's see if there's a way for us now to get an orbit which intersects. And we are on the same inclination. It's just a matter of getting close enough. There we go. It's 1.8 kilometers. If I can do any better, then I will do that. Otherwise, this is where we want to go, and this is also where I want to ditch this stage, because we're more or less out of fuel at this point. Well, we're not out of fuel, but there's really no reason for us to worry too much about keeping it around. It's just going to slow us down, and we're already slow enough. So that could be bad. I'm moving that down. I'm glad that I picked up on that, because we don't want that stage to separate on us. But now we're a lot more sprightly. So, another thing we'll want to do here is, well, first of all, I want to see. We may actually have some debris. I don't know if we did that correctly, but I'm more certain that thing should. Let's see what its trajectory is. Can we still trigger the engine? No, we cannot. Which is unfortunate. I guess, we'll just have to push this thing down at some point. Because it is in a fairly inconvenient spot, and I can't trigger the engine unless I do an EVA. So we'll switch back to this guy. I probably shouldn't have switched away to begin with. Now, where was our target? Set as targets. And 2.5 kilometers. 2.0. Well, it looks like we did miss our opportunity there. We'll just have to be careful. I'm not sure exactly what No! Okay, this engine needs to be activated. That's the problem. And we'll set Lunar Station as our target. We are... You know what? We need to make an inclination change. So we'll... There we go. That will probably help us a little bit. There we go. So what are we at? Separation of 0.1 kilometers. I'll take that. So let's go ahead and we'll get that we'll get that taken care of. That yeah, we'll burn about 2 seconds or so. And that'll happen now. Oh, let's see. How close are we? 1.2 kilometers. That would not be good. Whoa. Oh, let's see. Oh, that's actually a fairly good separation. We'll leave it at that. It's about time for us to burn retrograde. Not quite yet. We did move a little bit faster than intended here. So yeah, we are currently en route. And we do want to be careful about how fast we go, because even with as sprightly as we are, I mean, we do want to use RCS about now. And that was actually rather bizarre. Let's go ahead, we'll open up the shield. And we will set this as our target. Although it may be better, given our direction. Put us in chase cam mode, so maybe not. But we'll control from here. So, yeah. I mean, now the question is going to be whether or not we are going to be able to, get these guys docked. So, yeah. We're moving we're moving in the wrong direction, it seems. Getting these things lined up is not the easiest thing to do in the world. It's time to move this guy on in. And we'll give it a little bit of juice. We're a little bit far out. And of course, we are now in a situation where our spacecraft has begun to drift, and I do believe we have a rotation. That would probably explain a lot. And it's a good thing we had that probe on there, because that probe is the best thing we're going to have. We need to be pointing north, probably. And we'll hit our CS and bring these guys in as close as we can. How's our RCS doing anyway? Looks like we actually have plenty of it. Probably much more than we need. But, as long as, you know, we're going to have RCS. We'll just want to keep these guys pretty well aligned. Which we are about to do. I mean, we are very, very slightly off. But that'll be okay. Oh no, don't lose that docking thing. Oh, yeah, we've docked. So, I'm gonna assume Bob here is going to be a scientist. We'll just stick old Bob in the science capsule. And or we'll lose him to the depths of space, where he really should have been on a tether. Oh, yeah, this is not looking good. I don't know if I can arrest Bob's velocity because he's not really trying to get onto this ladder. There we go. We got Bob in the laboratory. And we're gonna stick Bill. We'll also stick Bill in the lab. I mean, I suppose at least Bill has been in space before. And I guess, now we have these guys in here. I don't know if they're stuck in there permanently or not. I guess there's no EVA on there. Anyway, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.